Okay, guys, we are back. We are in the home stretch, the final part 4 of the Fab Fatties, their shame episode and shame spirals. And yeah, we have moved on from coffee, finished the coffee. Now I'm going to hydrate myself before going to the gym. It's the last video I'm filming today, so I'm really excited to get through it. And then I can finally go to the gym, right? Well, recap, unless you didn't watch the last 3 episodes, which, by the way, go back and watch the last 3 episodes. Episodes 2 and 3, in my personal opinion, are way better than episode 1. So hopefully you guys get through episode 1 so you can watch 2 and 3. But we are learning all about their shame and the parallel reality these women are living in, where they cannot connect all these different things that they're talking about here are actually directly connected to their physical health. And I really wish they could put it together, because I think if they could see how they overlap, they would be significantly healthier mentally, and they could then transfer that to their physical health. But yeah, so far they're not making a connection, and we're just keep on watching, and we're gonna do some commentary and just kind of see where this goes. Yeah, come along with me, and yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. Whereas I can hold it a little bit separate from myself.
No, instantly. And what I will say I do find interesting is that pre-recovery, I would move towards shame, people pleasing, performing,
just breaking yourself to do it.
Just anything to be of value and of worth. And I do think that's something, I do actually think that moving away from it is progress. But, I think the real reason of having this conversation is because in therapy this week, the number one way to fight shame is talking about it. And I said, well, shit. Because it's the most uncomfortable thing to talk about. And I think for me, because of that, because I do feel like we are discussing my self-worth.
I was gonna say, even you just sharing what you just shared, we've been working together for 1.5 years on the podcast. It just reframed some of the things
that you already knew about me.
Yeah. Mostly I think it reframes how we've discussed before, feedback, right? That helps me understand how feedback might be oh gosh, I'm trying to prove my worth and you don't see it, I'm bringing this value, I can understand that now. I can understand that need to prove value if the shame tells you don't bring value, while also needing to feel seen and therefore needing to hear, let me see your value.
Okay, we talked about this in the previous episode, but once again, this all comes back to that parallel reality, right? People pleasing, huge trigger people with behaviors. Needing to show value, huge trigger people with behaviors, right? Now, a lot of people can have this and not have those toxic ritualistic behaviors, but I think it's just very apparent with them that we can actively see what is triggering them. I do think it is helpful for them to talk about this, oh, I actually have all these really negative feelings about myself. I just hope that they realize that it's self-perpetuated. Obviously, there's other cases like with Allie when she was talking about her family in the previous episode, about how her parents would use shame against her. Not her fault. She was a child. You can then clearly see how it's affected her in her adult life. But you do have to realize that you have control over the way you think about yourself and control of your situation when it comes to shame. These are all self-limiting beliefs that they have about themselves. I think it's interesting because I think the first part they were talking about how they would just let people take power from them. So they're still maintaining this idea that it's society and other people who are causing them to feel this shame. But it's so internal that I really, really hope that they see that it's just them. And if they can stop reinforcing it in themselves, that maybe some real changes can actually take place.
Because sometimes I just operate as if y'all know that you bring value without me saying it. I'm not.
Yeah, you guys do.
Bitch, I'm not great at words of affirmation. Y'all have taught me to be a little bit more affirmative.
I love reassurance.
Yeah, because I think I've talked to you once before about all this. Sorry, I'm realizing I'm making this about me.
Not good at words of affirmation. Sometimes I need reassurance, like reinforcement. I get that though, because sometimes you do want reassurance that, somebody loves you, somebody's your friend, that you're appreciated for the things that you do. But it really depends on how much reassurance you need and how much reinforcement you need on that reassurance. But if you need it for things like, do I have value? Take a step back. Take a step back. You should know if you have value or not. You shouldn't need somebody else to tell you that. And I feel like they acknowledged that somewhat in the beginning of this episode and the previous episode, but now they're right back on, well, sometimes I need reassurance.
Okay.
One time we talked.
Are you feeling shame about that?
Well, one time we talked and I literally had to be Alyssa, when I talk to you and Allie, there is not a hierarchy. I am talking laterally. I don't see myself as above. I don't see either of you above me. I truly see us laterally means horizontally. I see us at the same level. We all have different strengths. We all have different personalities. Am I going to be the dancing energy girl? Hell no. Okay. But I truly see us very horizontally. But sometimes because Alyssa comes to it, seeing me, seeing potentially Allie, I don't know, because we talk about Allie, above you, it doesn't always, you don't always hear that as a lateral, as a lateral discussion.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that just takes work, right? But for some reason, there is this self-worth or self-valuing of, I don't bring as much value as them. And it's had to work through it. I mean, I feel like you're in a better place now in terms of that view.
I've definitely had conversations like that before where somebody thought I was talking down to them or condescending them or was judging them because I was talking to them, one-on-one, and I was talking to them objectively, not judgmentally, but just as honest as I was. And they thought I was talking down to them. And I'm like, you have to realize, like, I don't see myself above you. Like, I see us, like she said, laterally, but it does speak to how somebody else's self-worth can be triggered in that moment. And they can then project onto you that judgment or that condescension. This also goes back to how Allie was talking about how she feels like she needs to tiptoe around Alyssa. Like, it seems like Alyssa is very easily triggered. And this whole episode is them talking through it.
Thanks, Queen.
But it's taken work.
Yes.
It is funny to me because I can remember a couple times like sitting on the couch with you and having specific conversations talking about times where you are either like looking for feedback or something like that. And I remember saying to you, and I feel like it's just as important now, it did make me think while you were talking, like, I think the reason that you're finding, not that I'm trying to therapize you, but I think the reason that you're finding that your instinct is not to go towards it with the people pleasing and everything anymore is because you've unmasked.
Yes.
First of all, because you're unmasking, right? So you're being more authentic, you're being more vulnerable, you're willing to let people meet you where you are.
Yeah.
So therefore it's good that your first instinct is no longer like, I feel shame, let me make this person love me.
I agree.
Right? So I think that's great. And I still think that continuing the work that you're doing, and I don't want this to sound patronizing, but like literally I didn't start feeling this way until I started like 30, 31, 32, 33. So like, I don't want it to be like, oh, you're so young, but I'm literally 36 and I'm still like fully coming into myself and like understanding, like, so when I ask you things like, or you're like, oh, do you guys like this? I'm like, do you like it? It matters.
It does.
It matters because you have to be proud of it. And that was what really hit me yesterday. I was like, yeah, I immediately went into, I'm in trouble. So what is Alyssa mad at me for? So let me think through that. But then, you guys know, I accepted a big girl job this week. And that was big, and it hurt really bad because I had a lot of thoughts around that this would make her proud.
Oh,
And it's still there. But this would be a title that my mom would feel proud to tell her friends and to tell her sisters and to tell my sisters, and my sisters would be proud of it, and they would want to come to events and stuff because they would be proud of what I was doing. But
That's such an interesting Enneagram 3 thought process. If you guys know anything about Enneagrams, like I'm a 3-wing 4. 3s are very achievement oriented and 4s are very individualistic and like value driven. And so there was a time in my life where I purposefully chose career options and made decisions because I was so afraid that my parents wouldn't be proud of me. Unfortunately, it's like when I did those things, it's like, oh, that's when the pride came out, but it was never really enough. It was always like, well, you did this, you can do more. I eventually, like in the past 2 years, had to put my foot down and be like, but this is not making me happy. I don't need to achieve these things to be happy. What I actually want is what my version of what I want to be make myself happy and what I want to achieve is completely different than the expectations that society and my family had for me. And that's like a really hard thing to admit to yourself because it's like, then you have to admit like, oh, well, I haven't achieved those actual things that I want. And I'm so significantly behind on them. And when I talked about it, it's like, it's having a family and having kids, right? I never put that stuff off, but it was definitely just never specifically valued. Not in my life, I'm saying like by other people. And so therefore it was never prioritized is what I'm saying. And so I can totally get where she's coming from with that. It's a very hard thing to acknowledge. And she and I are the same age, we're both 36. So I can totally get that. It's unfortunate that we find ourselves doing things to please others. And I can see, geez, I can just really, really see where so many of their triggers stem from. And it's so interesting that they're admitting it right here on camera. I really hope that they work through their issues.
I've been places, I've hit milestones in my life before that I thought that was going to be the one, because I had the marriage, the house, the bags, the car, and that was supposed to be when they were going to be the most proud of me, And so I think what I really had to dive into this week with the new job and everything was it being enough to just be proud of myself.
Yeah.
And I am starting to really think that like being proud of yourself really is the opposite of shame. I think it's less like, oh, I'm not ashamed of myself. I love myself. I think I'm great. I think I'm this. I think I'm this. I think it's just okay to just like, you're okay with you being okay.
You know what I hear in that?
Yeah.
And that's the feedback I got this week, which is I give all of my power away.
Yeah.
Like I hear what you're saying is actually having some of your own strength and power to be like, okay, this feeling of shame is coming up because of this, but also like shame is coming up for me because I'm the last person in the group. Okay, I haven't moved my body the way I wanted to in a long time, and I'm on my own journey.
And this
and in
doesn't
time,
mean anything about me.
Yeah, in time, I might be the one in the front of the group, or I'll always be in the back because I know what it feels like.
And I'll feel good about it.
Yeah, well, no.
This is actually, in my opinion, a relatively healthy conversation in this regard. Like, talking about needing to make time for things that you need to prioritize, right? Because that's, like I said, going back to that conversation, I had to deal with this thing with my dad where he was constantly pushing me. He's like, well, why don't you start your own business? You start your own business. You make so much more money. You'll be so much more secure and financially stable if you start your own business, which is very counterintuitive because he was just insistent that I could make so much more money if I went into business for myself as a speech therapist and just did private practice, which one, I hate private practice. Okay. I would not be happy. That is so stressful. And two, do you know how much time you have to put into starting a business? Not acknowledging the fact that I would have zero time for myself. What time would I have to work on my body, lose weight, take care of my health? What time would I have to date, to try and find a husband, to try and get married and have kids? Maybe somebody who had a better start in life could do all these things together, but I can't. And I had to tell my parents, like my dad specifically, you need to stop bringing this up to me. Stop putting pressure on me to start my own business because you are taking me away from my health and you're taking me away from my dreams. It's okay to have the dream that you want to get married and have kids, but I put my life on hold so much to please my parents that it's like now I'm behind on the things that I actually want. Does that make sense? I know I'm getting like triggered in my own regard right here. I'm totally getting triggered, but it's just because I think this is actually really healthy that they're talking about this. And I really hope that this is a great pathway that they're taking to finally see how the things that they're doing are the things that are harming them. And definitely the list is being like, hopefully I can move my body the way I want to. Yeah, if you're finally working through these issues and you're doing that, that's probably going to help you. But you have to remember that you're still really in the behaviors. I'm talking about Alyssa right now. She's still really in the behaviors. And she has to make sure that she doesn't accidentally do this in the extremes because she's still in that extreme mindset. You got to get out of that extreme mindset if you actually want to do this sustainably.
No, it won't define me.
Exactly.
I won't allow this moment to define me.
Yeah. Because it feels good to me. Because it doesn't matter what it feels good. It doesn't matter if it feels good to other people. It doesn't matter if it looks good, feels good, sounds good, whatever. If it feels good to me.
Yeah.
And I think you're so right. Like that really was what hit me this week of just like, it has to be enough. It has to be enough that I am proud of myself. It has to be enough that I think it's cool that I got offered this job. It has to be enough that you are comfortable. You're most comfortable walking at a slower pace. So that has to be enough for you, right? Like I think
it can't actually define who I am.
Yeah, sorry. I think sometimes it's like saying, oh, that has to be enough for you. It doesn't come out great. I think that's where I'm at for me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And I was actually just going to say, like, for listeners and watchers and everything, like, we don't have the answers, right? This was a raw, unfiltered conversation about shame and how we're currently working through shame, but like it is an ongoing, it's ongoing work. It's ongoing work. And I will say, I think it really took away from therapy this week how powerless I allow myself to be. And I'm sitting with that, and I don't know the solution yet, but I do know that I need to do some reflecting on that.
The solution is accountability. I know that sounds easier said than done, but the reason why you're experiencing a lot of this shame is that you're talking about power. Like, I let my power be taken from me. It's because you are struggling with control. You don't have control yourself, so then you control others, bring them into your mindset, make them think like you, reinforce the behaviors. Versus understanding there's nobody you can control other than yourself. And when you realize that you can control yourself, you can take accountability. You can say, this is the way I see things, this is the way I'm going to do things. I need to stop projecting all my issues onto others. I need to stop accepting people projecting their issues onto me. I have personal responsibility over my own health. I have personal responsibility over my own mental health. Like, letting go of shame is a choice. Like I said, when you realize you don't actually have control over anything but yourself. That's what I was saying. Like, when we're talking about my genetic disease, like any shame I experienced over my physical limitations went out the window as soon as I realized it wasn't my fault, right? This is why I always say you can accept the fact that it wasn't your fault that you gained all this weight, but it is your personal responsibility to lose it. I know I said that every single time, but it's applicable to all these different situations. So, Alyssa, you can let go of that shame and realize, hey, this crap was not my fault. It was not my fault that I was made to feel this way, that I was traumatized in this way, that I developed these behaviors, but I do have control over how I'm going to handle it from now on. That's the most that you can do. And then you can let go of it's like, okay, well, it's not that part's not my fault. I don't have to deal with that, those feelings, because those feelings aren't on me anymore. I can move forward. Like I said, easier said than done. But once you do it, honestly, I think I can't speak from the ritualistic behaviors that she's stuck in. Definitely Alex could speak to it a lot more just because he was there. But I can't understand it from a place of like trauma and shame and the medical side of things. And so I really do hope that she's able to make her way through it and that she can get the help that she needs. And then she can, get healthy at last. And not just mentally healthy, but physically healthy. Okay. Hopefully through this, she learns moderation.
Yeah, and I think figuring out where the shame is coming from is,
Yeah.
of course, one thing. Then how to handle it is another thing. And then, like, what are you gonna do about it is a whole nother thing, you know? Because, yeah, like, my answer so far has been to just withdraw from anything that I'm a reject
Yeah.
and build my own self-image to the point of, like, it's an armor.
Mm.
You know, it's just sometimes when we all talk about, like, the self-worth stuff, I don't relate because I don't feel like I'm a bad person. I shield myself, and I am such a good person, and they can't see it or tap it or that sounded like sex.
They can't tap it.
But like I
can
truly do, like I'm almost like, well, you don't get the pleasure of knowing me then. And
I want that
it's
so much.
such a defense mechanism. It absolutely is a defense mechanism, though. It's one I live with, and I'm comfortable with that defense mechanism. But I also think it is because I have done such work of, well, what do I like? What do I value? As long as I feel like I can put my head down,
I love that.
being okay with what I value, I'm happy.
You are very secure in yourself.
Yes, I think it's incredible. I literally, because like that is truly like, I feel like the journey that I'm on of like, I've started saying it, but it's like I'm finally at this point where like I know who I am.
Yes.
And I know who I am, and that's what matters. Like I think that is what I admire so much about you, is that you cannot be convinced otherwise. And that's where that is like the I feel like that's like the final boss for me in my shame journey of like I got to this point where it's like, yeah, I know who I am now. Like, it's not who they told me I was. It's not the baggage that somebody else gave me to carry that I need to put down, right? I know who I am. I like who I am. And I want to get to that point. Nobody can convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Truly.
Thank
It's
you.
very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the space. Definitely interested to hear what our audio listeners and our visual watchers like thoughts around shame are, and even thoughts on how we process this. And gosh, give me some more things to talk to Amber about.
I think so far this is like one of the rare episodes where I actually see like honesty coming to the forefront. And I think it's because they're not actually talking about their physical health or the idea of fatness. That's where you see all the lies and the delusions start to come out. And this one is just like, because they're not specifically talking about fatness or health, they're able to be honest in a very interesting way where I'm actually like enjoying their conversation. I find it just very relatable. I just really wish that they could connect it to how these ideas are influencing the way that they think about their health and their bodies. We'll see if they ever get there, but geez, that's it's just so interesting. Like I said, it's just the parallel reality here, where it's like you're so close to making the connection, and they're just not. And this is one of the cases where I genuinely think that their emotions are real here. Not that their emotions aren't real. I just mean like where they're real without the need to manipulate. When they're talking about fatness and society and health, there's an element of manipulation and gaslighting that is occurring. And here, because they're not talking about those things, you could actually see where they're telling the truth. You just got to turn that truth right back around on yourself, right? And acknowledge, like, oh, maybe this is why I have all these ideas around my body and health and the idea of being fat.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but I am proud that I fought back against it a little bit by talking about it.
Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say, because it made you shut down for a time.
Yeah.
But then you brought it to therapy.
Yeah.
And then you brought it to your friends, and now you're bringing it to the world,
yeah.
right? And so, like,
yeah,
I
even think too, like, the shutting down felt a little bit more of like processing.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, like just like what you said before, like, what is causing me shame? Where is it coming from?
You got curious about it.
Yeah. So I might have pulled back, but I think I still was actively doing that work, which is different. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Recognizing the change, right?
Yeah.
Because it could have easily been, I'm ashamed, so I'm just gonna not talk about it and bury it deep.
It really
Yeah.
shame thrives in behind closed doors,
Yeah.
in dark corners,
Yeah.
shame thrives in hiding.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing here, right?
Yeah, shame does thrive in hiding. And the behaviors, as I said, the hallmark of those behaviors is hiding it. It's hiding it, not acknowledging it, pretending it doesn't exist, continue to do the behaviors, and then saying, no, actually, I'm not doing that. I don't know why I'm this body size. I don't know why I have these health issues. There's more to losing weight than calories in, calories out, right? Like all those different things that people tell themselves. So like, once again, it's like, it's so weird to see them like, oh, they're actually talking about the truth here and not connecting it to themselves. I said like 1,000 times already, but it just keeps applying. And so, yeah, I do hope that them having this conversation about shame does wake something up in them and doesn't continue to reinforce the delusion, because this is a rare, very rare moment of clarity for these women. We'll see if they double down in the future, but like this is very interesting. Like, do you understand now how you're hiding your behaviors? Do you see that? Do you see how it might be connected to the shame that you're experiencing? If talking about this, do you see how you might not engage in those behaviors in the future? Let's hope that's the case.
Like that's why, at least for me, like that's why fat community was so life-changing for me. Because the first meetup I went to with CLT Plus, some girl was talking about how her thighs sweat. And I was like, nobody has ever talked about this around me before. And same, girl, literally just saying things out loud that lets people know that you're not alone. You're not alone.
Okay. I love it. She immediately said like, oh, that's why joining the fat community made it so much easier for me. Oh, girl. Yeah, she's still on it. I really do want to hear more about her joining that fat community, and so much of that stuff. And so much of this podcast is reinforcing those behaviors and those beliefs, continuing the gaslight, continuing the lies. I really wish that they just make the connection. You're continuing to experience this shame because you know deep down you're still lying to yourself. We found it. We found the answer. That's why.
You're not alone in this room with us. You're not alone when you lay down, because we're on the other end of your group text. You're not alone ever.
Yeah, well, thank you. Wow, thank you guys. I'm gonna get a little emotional because it was been feeling very heavy and this was hard. But thank you. Thank you for allowing me to have you guys come completely unprepared for this episode and just engage in a conversation and work our way through it together. And I really appreciate it.
Love you, boo.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Wow, and I love our community.
Same.
Whew, okay, we're fat.
We're fab.
We're friends. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Okay, guys, we made it to the end of that. That was so interesting. It started off very confusing, as you know, in part one, and then it got very interesting. And I was so hopeful that we were going to get to the end with some kind of really positive resolution. And then she was just like, and that's what I learned in the fat community. I was like, girl, no. Like I said, this is part of the reinforcement. Like, they can see the truth, they can have the clarity over what is causing these behaviors, and then not connect it to the behaviors, not connect it to the result, right? They're seeing the cause and they're like, I can see the cause, but this can't be the solution. This can't be what's causing this thing. It must be causing something else. It's frankly a little frustrating, but hey, you know what? It's a good first step. It's a good first step. Hopefully they keep taking these steps in the right direction. Because I said, if they're on the ground level here. They're wandering around. They're trampling like around the truth. And maybe one day one of them will get their heads, like, oh, see above the clouds and see like maybe the reason why I'm having all these feelings is I have not yet dealt with the fact that I am not being honest with myself. And with that, guys, I will see you next time. Let me know what you think down below. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know if I missed anything. What are your opinions on it? And I'll talk to you later.